Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Cooking, where today we are making a chocolate cake, a red velvet cake, and a mirror glaze. And we're even going to take the cakes and we're going to make a checkerboard. Now, this is going to be a 3-part video because if I do all of this in one, we're talking like an hour and a half long video. Ain't nobody got time for that. So we're going to start out with this being the chocolate cake. We're going to make it, and then part 2, the red velvet, and then part 3 will be the icing, frosting, and the building. So stick around for all 3, but for this, chocolate cake time. And all we need are a few simple ingredients. Yeah, I know, all of them at the same time. Makes things easy. So we got our 3 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, because nothing too crazy with this. 3 cups of all-purpose, 2 cups of sugar, a half a cup of cocoa powder. From there, we've got 2 tablespoons of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of coffee. Now, with this, if you really like coffee, you could go with a dark roast, but keep it just kind of simple, not too strong unless you really, really are a coffeeaholic. Hey, then go for it. Get your Starbucks out. I don't know what to tell you. But 2 cups of regular coffee, 2/3 a cup of oil. Now, we're also using just a regular vegetable oil. You could also use a light olive oil if you want as well, but nothing that's going to really be a strong flavor that's going to change the way the cake tastes. And from there, it's pretty simple. Teaspoon of vanilla. So let's start to the mixing and get to the cooking. Now, to begin this process, we're going to start out real simple. We're going to take all our dry ingredients. You can use a mixer, or if you want to do this by hand, either way is fine. But no matter what, take all your dry ingredients, set them in the bowl, get them situated, and whisk them up really good. We'll start by adding our flour in one big old mess. It went everywhere, wouldn't you know it? From that point, we just pour in our sugar. Whee! The dusty pool. We add our cocoa because, I mean, hey, what kind of chocolate cake wouldn't have cocoa in it? Come on. A little salt and a little baking soda. Now, there is a whisk attachment that you can get to this, but in all honesty, it only takes a few seconds, and that's one more thing. It's a little hard to wash. So we're going to take our hand whisk here, get in here, mix all this up, so that way there's not one big lump of something that just doesn't taste good. We've got this nice and mixed together. Let's start adding some of the juicy juice. We're going to start by taking one of our cups of coffee, pour this guy in nice and gentle, and then we're going to turn it on low until it gets mixed. Pulse it in a little too. Again, you're just trying to keep the dust down. Now let's ease in our second cup. Oh, things are going together nicely. A little touch of vinegar. Now we've added our oil. It's time for the vanilla extract. I don't think there's a flavor that's better in this world than that. Prove me wrong. Put me in the comments. Let me know what you like better than this. Now we're also going to go in here real quick before we do our final few moments of mixing. We're going to scrape down the bowl so that way there's no dusty surprises hiding at the bottom, because nobody wants that big old dry, dusty lump on their cake now, do they? Just a few seconds more to make sure we don't miss nothing. Believe me, you want your cake perfect. You don't want no lumpy lumps. All right. We're gonna let this sit here a minute now, and let's get our spring forms ready to pour this stuff into. For the next part, we're actually gonna be putting this stuff into the pans. Now, not only are we gonna spray these, we're also gonna put a liner in the bottom. If you don't want to go and buy the liners, you can make them yourselves. They're not that hard to actually make. All you need is a little parchment paper. Let me show you. What you're going to do, you're just going to take and fold these things, fold, try to get them until they're like a little bitty pointy peninsula. And then you measure them against the pan. Once you figure out how long you need it, you just cut it. And as you unravel it, what do you get? Boom, a circle. Not complicated at all. So step 1, we're going to take our spray oil, or you can use butter if you want. You're going to take your spray oil and put a good coating on the inside of these pans. Then you lay your paper into the bottom, and the spray will actually make it stick a little bit. And we're also going to turn around and spray the paper again, putting another light coat on that, just so that it peels off of the cake just so it peels off the cake really simply. Now, before you start putting the cake in there, we're gonna do this where we're pretty precise. We're gonna take and weigh these things. So each pan weighs about, what, 1 pound and 6 ounces. You hit tare, and that's gonna zero it out. That way it's only gonna measure what you add to the pan. Since both of these pans, same manufacturer, same everything, they're gonna weigh about the same. So let's start pouring into these and try to see how close we get before we actually start doing it to it. We're gonna start out with just a little pour here. I think that's a good stopping point. And just a pour here. This way we still got plenty in the bowl. And if we need to make adjustments, not a problem. You're not going, oh, let me take a spoon out of this one and put it into that one. And let's see what we got. We got 15.1 ounces there. And this one we have, oh, I went over 1 pound too. I think we need a little more in the first one. Now, the only reason why we're trying to get these guys so close together is as they cook, as they rise, you want them to both to be equal in their rise, because as we're cutting these cakes to do to the others, if everybody's the same height, they'll match better. Now that we have our cakes perfectly balanced in the pans, both of them weighing the exact same amount, before they go into the 350-degree hot box, we're gonna put on some cake strips. What's cake strips, you ask? I'm glad you did. What these are a cloth basically wrap for these. You're gonna soak these in water, and what they do is you wrap them around the pan, and what it does is it keeps the pan edges from getting hot. You know how every time you cook a cake, it domes up in the middle? That's because the edges get hot first and they seize the cake. So by putting these on there, wait till you see, it makes the top of it a lot more level as you bake. All you have to do, you get these guys, soak them in water, wrap them around the edges, and once they do, they'll slide right into the oven without a hitch. So we're just gonna adorn these beautiful things with some nice cool, because you use cool water or cold water on these. Tighten the bands up just a little bit because we want them to touch the whole way around. Get our next guy, squeeze out the extra water. Now yes, when you pick these pans up, these things are gonna want to slide off the bottom, so it's gonna take a little bit of a balancing act to do this. You can also make these, and I'd like to thank the guy that I saw that made these, but I don't remember his name, so I can't give you credit. Sorry, dude. The power of YouTube. You see stuff and you're like, oh, I remember that. And then I can't thank the guy. But we've got our little wet cloth around the outside. Let's pop them in the oven. Now that we're 350 degrees and our oven is, oh, the hot box is hot. Let's take our cakes. Now make sure you hold up on your cake band so that way they stay put, they don't fall off, because they don't work if they ain't on the pan. We'll set that one in. We'll set this one in. And we will check back on them in about 30 minutes, give or take a little bit, and do the old toothpick test. Stand by. And while we're waiting on those things to pop out of the oven, let me tell you about another little Bigfoot that was seen. But this one kind of perplexes the mind a little bit, because he was sitting there, I'm not sure where it was at. I just know it came from Pennsylvania. But this guy was sitting at the counter carrying on a conversation with another guy. Now, I'm not sure if the guy speaks, what do you call it, Bigfootanese, or if Bigfoot speaks English. It really ponders the mind. I mean, it makes you wonder, you know, is Bigfoot gonna pretty soon be running for president? You never know. One thing I do know though, I would appreciate the heck out of it if you guys would reach down in that corner right there and hit that subscribe button. I mean, that's the only way I could get these Bigfoot footages to you and show you guys how to make a chocolate cake. Oh, the chocolate cake. I gotta check on that. Let's see what's happening. You ever notice how they always test with the toothpick, but they never come out with a problem? Let me show you what the wrong way looks like. Nice, clean, pretty. We're about 20 minutes in, so we shouldn't be done yet. So if I check, they look okay, but when I stab it, oh, it's gooey and ooey and stuff all over it. This is the fail. Now stand by, and you'll see the pass. All right, now that our timer has made the noise, let's see how we're doing. We'll slide this guy in, slide him out. Hey, look, it's clean this time. All right, let's shut her off and get these guys out of here. All right. Ooh. Tell you what, they're warm coming out. And we're gonna set these on the cooling rack. Let them mind their own business for about, 10, 15 minutes. I'm not even gonna think about them. I don't care how good they smell right now. We're gonna let them sit here and cool off, and we'll check back in a few. All right, we've got about 10 minutes into this. They're still a little warm, but I got a lot to do to make another cake. So we're gonna start out by pulling our bands, which have completely dried. All the water came out of it, which that's what it's supposed to do. It provides a cooling effect on the side, so that way they don't burn. And let's see what happens. The part you hate, the question of whether it sticks or not. And ta-da! Hey, what do you know? And take a look. Level. That's the whole point of this guy right here. It keeps that dome from happening in the middle. So this way you don't have to come back and slice it off to make it. And to get it off of here, well, you remember that piece of parchment paper that we used earlier? We're just gonna take, come on. Set this guy right here. Look at there. No stick, no muss, no fuss. But I can't eat it yet. I gotta wait, because I got one more cake to make, and then we get the cool frosting techniques. So until we get to that part, remember, this smells good, it's gonna taste good, and 2, Bigfoot is real. I think I'm gonna lick this.